All right, well, here is the fish room. It's been a long time, and this time we're actually making improvements. You can see there's a lot of gear here, if you will. This is all getting installed. We've got more stuff arriving tomorrow. We'll go over all that. Jimmy, at this point, has moved out, so I was kind of waiting to take back, some of my tanks, that kind of stuff, and I've made some decisions. I removed the flaps that were on here. They were preventing me from wanting to work in the fish room. So let me explain why, because obviously it looks worse. Not horrible, but looks worse. You'd have glass tops down, you'd have a flap down, you'd have one free hand, and you'd have another hand, which is currently holding the camera, but hold fish food, right? So then you'd have to open up the top with one hand, kind of hold it with your elbow, open up the other glass, and then use the other hand to feed, and that caused a lot of slamming lids and just wasn't very good, and it was much harder above. You can't use your elbow anymore. So first things first, I think I'm gonna remove these two as well, so I can just get access to these bigger tanks. These ones I'm gonna do as well, but they have different screws. So they've got some square and hex screws that we use to put them in. So I don't know if I have that tool easily accessible. But so the goal today is to focus on kind of just more cleanup. In general, there used to be a giant table here. It's now at another location. There was computer equipment, all that. We're making space. More ponds are coming. They arrive tomorrow. Not quite as big, but there's gonna be, I think we're installing 8 more. And what I'm doing is I'm going with a pond base because, one, I really enjoy massive amounts of fish, and this will facilitate that. 2, I don't believe I need to do water changes nearly as often as I can because I have not a water change system, so I want to play around with that. And 3, if algae grows on the sides, we don't care, right? Whereas over here, on a normal day, if I wanted to film something about these goldfish, I would have to come in and get the algae off. So what have I done to start addressing some of these issues? So first, we're removing the hang-on back filters. I just don't have time to service them. So we have the ongoing Zis filter in here. I'm gonna add a sponge filter as well. And that's just so I have both types of filtration, mechanical and biological. There is a smaller bristlenose plecostomus we added in here about a day ago. He has not necessarily gotten to work yet. We added crushed coral. My pH was starting to dip after over a year of being set up, and there was barely any crushed coral. I'm gonna add a lot more crushed coral. So, old school vids, we take you everywhere, right? If I go into the garage here, you can see we've got, I brought 14 bags or 12 bags of crushed coral. So with that much crushed coral, and you can see I've got it over there by the sink, we've started adding crushed coral to the tanks, and most all substrates, including the totes or ponds, whatever you want to call them, are going to be crushed coral. Added a lot of crushed coral down here. Still nursing the clown loaches. There's still the 2 wild caughts that are skinny, not eating as well. They're eating okay. I can kind of show you that, I suppose. I've been testing a lot of foods. So I've been testing, some stuff that, like some import stuff. This is some flower horn food. I'm testing a lot of extreme, and I still love the Vibrobites. That's still making my cut. Lots of frozen foods, but I just cleaned up, and so we got rid of a bunch of foods. I've also been testing Dennerle foods, because I want to add some more food options. So first thing I have to do is test them, and so that's what I've been doing. But I really like a floating food for clown loaches, and that's just because I like to watch them come to the top. So if I put that food in there and I back up a little bit, you'll kind of see the action I like. Now the water, a little cloudy, the crushed coral that went in a couple days ago. And I removed the hang-on back, so just gotta wait for it here. I promise you, they'll do it. It's a sound that I fall in love with. They're all starting to come out of their hidey holes. We took out a bunch of the hiding spots. There's plants. The plants aren't attached to anything yet. once one of them gets brave enough to eat off the top, they're still learning to eat off the top, and I prefer them to eat off the top myself because it's fun. You can see them getting a little more confident. You can see some of the skinny, bigger loaches. And so they almost feed like koi. Now I have been mixing in sinking pellets and that kind of stuff for some of the skinnier loaches. If you can believe it, the loaches are doing better than they were. And I realize that would be hard to believe, but this one has skinny loach disease and that one has it as well. I've been hitting them with levamisole, and we're actually turning the corner. They're coming back, they're eating, and so that's a good sign. You know, this guy's putting on quite a bit more weight. He was that skinny, he or she I should say. The other one still quite skinny. So, you know, working on stuff, you know, in between. You know, this summer I've been kind of taking the summer off, and not off. We put out 2 videos a week. We're still putting out videos on the membership, which, by the way, if you haven't thought about membership stuff, it's kind of where I'm just doing a little more interacting one-on-one with people and showing you a little more behind the scenes. You've seen pictures and all that kind of stuff of this before this video in advance. So up here, this is what's left of Jimmy's rainbow tank. Again, there's a lot of green spot algae, and there's still a hang-on back filter that had no intake sponge. I don't know what he did with that, but there's a little albino bristlenose I put in here. And today I'm going to gravel vac and get all the cholla wood that most of the plecos had consumed most of. Probably get that hang-on back off there, get a sponge filter connected to that air. You've got a Zis filter over here that's way in the corner. I'll probably reposition that a little bit. It's running on its side, or tilted a little bit. Jimmy ran into hardness and pH issues, so he added some crushed coral. And yeah, really, it's just a mess. Kind of came through here, so you know, gave away all the fish and that kind of stuff. So you know, it's time to rehabilitate it, if you will. I'm trying to take it in steps. You know, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. I didn't buy, but I brought home from the store, same as buying. Another python, and so I can hook it up to my water over there, get that going, so I can fill these up, get crushed coral on these. I'm gonna run all of them with USB air pumps. Even though I've got the big air pump over here, I don't necessarily want to run airline all the way into the center of the room again, and I have all these outlets up top and on the walls and stuff, so I think I can just kind of hang the USB air pumps, kind of like what I'm doing outside. So we'll go outside, old school style, where I ramble, you follow. And outside we have the rice fish. You can see some of them right there. I don't know if you can see it anymore, but so we've got some platinum rice fish in here, running the USB air pumps. We just hang them on the side. Works out awesome. And with the Never Clog Airstone, they pair pretty darn well, actually. So you get a decent amount of aeration going, very low wattage. And there's some fry in here. See if I can find the fry for you. Oh, there's some. They came over with some plants I moved. I just moved some plants into here. And we've got fry that hatched out of the rice fish. And then we've got the oranges over here. Let me see. Yep, they've got eggs, it looks like, right below me. I'm trying not to scare them. But it looks like there's a big clump of eggs on that female. Got a giant spider on my leg right now. Trying not to freak out. But they like to lay, so what they do is they have those eggs on their anal fin, and then eventually the female that's swimming that way now is going to go brush up against that algae and plants. And when they do that, they deposit the eggs there, and then eventually those eggs will hatch, and then the fry will be able to hide out in there from the parents. So that's kind of how that works. We've been downsizing a lot outside because I want to move it inside so it's a little more reliable. I got a lot more projects going on, and so we're down to one pond over here, and we've been fighting ivy and stuff like that from, you know, the fence. But come over here, we have our alien rock from the desert we collected in there. so that way squirrels can get down, get a drink, birds, that kind of stuff too. And we've got more platinum rice fish in here with seeded sponge filters. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but just some old sponge filters are in here, and they were in some of the ponds that were that way. And again, this is a USB air pump. Works just fine, and they're quiet. That's what I like. I like that they're real quiet. I don't have to worry about it, and they're cheap, you know. So it's kind of out in the elements too. That's the other thing, I guess. Like, I need to get a proper like cord that is you know, encases the water or whatever. But in terms of this does really well because the water just kind of goes downward, and it seems to last. Now, I don't know if it's going to last 10 years or a minute, you know, but clearly it's been like 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So yeah, just got my dogs out on the deck. Got all this, I don't know what this flower is called, but we desperately need to clean up our garden. We have some people coming to do some landscaping quotes, but we do love these flowers. And then my dogs like to sit out on the deck. They're sassy and old. She's getting real old, you know, but she still struts the property and you know, make sure everything's to code. Back into the fish room though. I guess I'm gonna set the camera down and actually get to some work here. I know I'm meeting up with Dean. Dean's gonna be taking these blue angels to his house because I want to free up space, and the space needs to be freed up for quarantine. You can see here an old version of a sponge filter we were testing. Blue angels still doing well. They'll still lay eggs and that kind of stuff, but I don't have the time to raise them at the moment, and I desperately need quarantine space. Dean already took some of these guppies, and he says they're big fry eaters, but he doesn't have a lot of plants. Like, we have a decent amount of fry after, you know. Okay, so let me do some teaching there. Bring these back from Vienna Guppy World Championships. My first goal was make some more because I only had 6, so I made some more. Second goal after that is to get them into someone else's hands also, so that if some freak accident happened here and they all got sick or they all died, we'd have another source and not have to go back to a breeder in Vienna. So now we have, you know, the first 2 things done. We bred more and we've spread them out to at least 2 people. Now what I want to do is I want to get them growing in like a pond or something like that and really mass produce them so that everyone can enjoy these guys. So that's the plan here, and you know, again, I'm trying to kind of transition from testing and to more breeding because that's what I enjoy. So this is the super small, well, not super small, but the smaller nano, or not nano, it's not nano either. I would call it the small Zis filter that takes a ridiculous amount of air to make that happen. So that's why we're waiting for them to fix something with that. I can show you another thing here. So these have gone through a long quarantine. They'll be going in with ladybird and the other leaf fish. So that's what's going on up here. They'll probably run as I stand up because that's what they do. They're very reclusive ambush predators. And these guys have been getting chunky, you know, turning into chunky monkeys off of frozen food, but majority is the Vibrabites. So that's, I still, like, I realize that everyone's like, Vibrabites, they're split. Either the most amazing thing or not good at all. They're really, really good for some fish and then really just mediocre for some other. But the thing I wanted to show in here was, if you look on the algae, it's purling. So you can see all through here. Now, I'm just proving a point that we only have air, I'm not injecting CO2, and we get purling algae. So again, kind of comes back to by injecting air, we also make sure there's ample CO2 supply. And I'm not for an instant even gonna try and tell you this tank is imbalanced, because it's not. I haven't dosed fertilizer in here in probably 6 months. So that's why you're seeing deficiencies in the Anubias with the super light green leaves. The crypts are doing okay because we haven't been doing gravel vacs. There's enough crud to keep the crypts going. And that's one of the reasons I love crypts, is they can take a lot of neglect. You know, we've just got the crypt parva up front, we've got crypt lutea towards the back, and with a little bit of maintenance, it'll do okay. And yeah, so, but I need to catch out those fish and move them. Still have Pseudotrophia solosi here. Got the dominant male that's all colored up and a subdominant male there. No breeding action yet. I'm convinced these take longer to start breeding than your average African because I always give up on these. I've got the black PVC that I want to put up in there. This castle was just something fun I was doing. I was giving them some more territory so that subdominant male would hopefully smarten up and be like, hey, I could live in there and not get beat up. But we need to swap out the substrates, going all to crushed coral, kind of the same thing. Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever shown these fish, even though they're one of my holy grail fish. It's been on the like, oh, I need to do that, but I got them like maybe 6 weeks or 2 months ago, and I've been kind of waiting to do this whole big cleanup when Jimmy left. And so these are the flag cory, or is it Ralabuti? I can never remember. But they basically have that white and black striped tail, and they're ridiculously hard to breed in captivity. And I was able to get 9 of them. They came into my store actually. Robert ordered them, and then I was like, oh, I gotta go get those. But again, the neglect here, and I want to explain some of the neglect. So part of it is me not being interested. So I want to take full responsibility for that. The second part is when I was traveling a bunch, things would go wrong. So for instance, let me paint a scenario. I would come in, the water turned green. What did Corey do? Corey goes, oh, I'll fix this. What I'll do is I'll turn off the light, right? So I turn off the light. And then I go to somewhere like Israel for a week. And I come back and the light was left on. Because Jimmy goes, oh, the light's out. I better fix that. And it's my bad for not communicating why the light was out. So he turns the light back on, but with the Fluval 3.0, he comes back on and he just hits the button, right? Oh, it's on. Well, that's always on. It's never gonna turn off unless you put it in the green mode where it goes back to its programmed memory, right? So that led us down a path of this thing kept yo-yoing between green water and non-green water. And even right now, it's a little bit green. I've got the light turned down a little bit, but now that when I make a change, no one will change it without me, I can get the desired results. So, you know, it's not a knock on someone that was, you know, trying to see best for my fish or anything like that. It's just almost easier for me to just assume that no one will touch things. Like my wife would put some food in, or she would ask me, or Jimmy would just go, oh yeah, it's better turn that light on. So, but again, we're gonna redo this tank, so everything's coming out and crushed coral will be going back in, because the aragonite is just, so the aragonite is like the grayer stuff, and then we've got black gravel in here. And the pH is just running lower than I would like. The pH would be great for those cories, but I really love these red or koi tuxedo guppies that I got from King Lee. And again, I've given some of these away, so it's not like I've only made very few. Like if you guys remember way back, they all came in as babies, right? I bought all the fry he had. I think they were like this size back here. So now obviously they've grown up and they're having their own babies, which is nice and fun, but I think I can do a better job of raising them. And part of that is making it easier to feed. You know, the auto feeder is empty at the moment, and just, you know, it's I guess it's really easy for me to get, I guess, unmotivated of like, I'll just take care of it later, because there's a big difference between everything's alive and it's made some more, and I'm putting in time every single day and they're making 50 times more. So that's what I want to get back to, is making 50 times more, hatching live brine. You know, there's products to test out over here. We've got, you know, this hatchery to test out. I've already got the brine shrimp eggs. If we go over to, you know, the fridge, I'll go right over here, and we should have, yeah, we've got brine shrimp eggs still down there. We've got other foods that I tested that I've decided not to carry, and that's from Fritz. There's like some baby brine and that kind of stuff, and then, you know, just the average frozen foods. up in here. You know, we got spirulina brine, normal brine. We're low on mysis. We're low on a few others. I need to go and restock a lot of the frozen foods if I'm going to be more active in the fish room. And that's my goal, you know. And I might move this whole fridge, but I got to find somewhere for it to go because I want to fit another pond right here. So that's the goal, is kind of pond, all right? And then we've got these 2 big ponds. And then the goal would be to put these like 1/2 to 3/4 ponds, like 1, 2, 3. So you still got plenty of walk room over here. And then make an aisle. That table will leave. And then we'll put another row in. And so I'll have all these low ponds to play with. That'll be very simple. We're gonna light them with the lighting up top for now and just see how that goes. I know the plants I want to do and the substrate and everything. And then on this wheelie stool, I can take you guys and kind of teach you and just check in on what's going on in the ponds. And that just sounds super fun to me. And I really enjoy ponds, but I always get started late in the season because, I don't know, that's the way it goes. And then my season always seems to end short when I do get a good start. And so I feel like the ponds just really get going at 3 or 4 months. They really start humming along, and I want to go year round. And so I thought, why not bring them inside? I won't get quite all the benefits, but I'll get some. So I'm going to start gravel vacuuming, and yeah, the goal is to hit as many of these 125s as I can today. And we'll just see how far I go. I mean, I have appointments later in the day, but now it's mostly get out there, do some appointments, do some stuff, clean some stuff, and just get ready. Once it's up and going and I've done the major changes like the substrate swap outs, it's a lot easier. You can do all the maintenance in a day, which is nice, but right now it's like a week worth of maintenance because we've neglected it so long. And yeah, so I can see a sponge filter needs to be cleaned, and I'll chime in afterwards. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And you know, getting back to the roots of Corey's doing stuff in the fish room. All right, so I made a mess of the goldfish tank at the moment. Lots of debris stirred up, and that's because I took out rocks and I took out a filter. Normally, you should be able to gravel vac without stirring up any of the muck. Now, they've swept a lot of this substrate to the front, so I'm going to end up pushing it back. But I wanted to show off again because I just love them. The Mag Float scraper blades. Like, I've been waiting to bring these home because I've had the normal ones, right? That don't have the scraper blade. Yeah. So I've just been living over here, and then now I put a scraper blade on it, and it just makes it cut through algae and just makes tank maintenance so easy. Like, it comes right off. Now I realize you can kind of see there, I guess maybe if I do that shot again. So all that comes off. It cuts through it like butter. Read the reviews, like people are shocked. And not just like new people, mostly the people that are shocked are the people that have been in the hobby for a really long time. We've been here for a long time and mag floats have been out for a long time, but the scrapers, I think we all just discounted as like, yeah, they're all right. But they make such a huge difference. It's a night and day difference on the product. And so I'm installing one on every single one. I brought enough home that all of these tanks will have one, so I don't have to move. And in a past video, people are like, couldn't you be cross-contaminating? The answer is yes. And I wanted to eliminate that from any of the chances, that kind of stuff. And yeah, so obviously this tank's gonna have to clear up for a few hours once I move the substrate and everything, but it's the first step to getting it to where I want it to go. And I want to put some, like maybe a couple more goldies in here. I've got some in the house in my living room tank. So either A, these are all going to go live in the living room tank, which is 230 gallon custom, or the few goldfish are in there are going to come live out here and we'll do something else in the living room. But that's another tank where I've got soil substrate basically, and I am not a fan of soil substrate, so I'm going to replace it with crushed coral and find something I want to do with it that'll be fun. So yeah, I'm not going to say it looks good yet, but we'll get the auto water change going, or maybe I'll set up the Python to refill and I'll cycle some water. I could do that. Yeah, so all I have to do, because for those of you new to the channel, which it's crazy to me to think about. It might have been a year since I've really shown off the fish room, so there's probably like 100,000 people or more that really haven't seen this stuff, but this is current stats, right? So 54% humidity in here, 73 degrees, and this is the lowest it'll go. I can't go any lower than 98, but so out of this water heater, which will do, it's something like 8 gallons a minute and unlimited because it's natural gas, 98 degrees. Then we mix it in a mixing valve down here, so it comes out at 78. So I have unlimited amounts of hot water, and then it also all runs through a carbon block, which that's something I need to replace. Even though we have very, very little chlorine, it's been long enough now where it falls into that, yeah, I should just do that. You can see it up here, it's a big, I mean, not huge carbon block, but there's a little bit of sediment on the bottom, not an insane amount, but it all goes through there. And yeah, well, I guess technically it's only going through there if it's on the auto water change, which makes sense because my plan is to just swap a bunch of water, and whenever I do that, I always like to use dechlorinator. I'm not a guy that uses a lot of chemicals or dechlorinator. Let me close my door here, but the hashtag sponsored by Aquarium Co-op because I own my own company, but I really do love the Fritz Complete water conditioner, and then we put the pump head on when we sell it. No one else does that I'm aware of. And so it's just 1 pump per 10 gallons. We figured all that out. And so I can just put some pumps in there, get the water changing, and then you know, put a few more pumps in when I'm done, so to speak. And if I let it slowly trickle, it'll trickle out through the overflow there and go down into the sump. And so I might do that. But yeah, Fritz Complete, at this point, this is all I'm using. And I'm a guy that I have access to everything, and pretty much any company will give me whatever I want, so it's not even a money thing. I choose to use this because I like the pump action. Boom, works really well with Easy Green and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, Fritz doesn't pay me to say that, but you know, I wish they would pay me to say that. But Aquarium Co-op pays me to say that though, so sponsored by Aquarium Co-op, and I'm gonna get to doing more work. All right, so we're working on this pond now. Got crushed coral down low, need to add some more still, but got tired of washing it. We're filling it. This one I know for sure is going here, so that's why I'm working on this one. Waiting until I get the other ponds, I can kind of rearrange through here to make sure where they're gonna go. Like this whole table needs to get cleaned off and go. But I gotta sort everything, test products, you know, there's products that we're testing and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so things are still calming down over here. We gravel vacked all 4 tanks initially, and so they need another go through, and they need some more, you know, some more TLC, but that's the first wave. You know, if I get back out here and do it in a couple of days again. Empty this yet? No, I haven't emptied that yet. So a lot of brown water comes out, and you know, classic noob mistakes where I removed the hang on back filter on this after I had already gravel vac, so it dumped a bunch of stuff on there. I'll get that up in the next pass. So just some stuff like that, and there's a lot of algae that became free floating once I really gravel vacked it. So doing extra water changes there once I get water back. And same thing here, pulled a lot of debris out, but there's more debris to go. The sponge filters will pick that up. Now, you know, we're gonna let that fill with water. Now I have to basically get prepped for YouTube tomorrow. So what does that mean? That means I have a meeting with YouTube. I guess we could chime in here and check out Ladybird. Desperately need to put some time and attention to this aquarium as well. You know, haven't really done much with the plants or anything. The threadfin albino acaras are looking amazing. You can see the finnage, great. Got the datnoids in there. Got to add the leaf fish, but you know, it's on the need to work on list. Like I put the pump back in, and it just uprooted my bulbitis the other day, and I put the big crinum in here. You can see that the pinstripe Pinoc pleco is getting nice and fat. Some of the reasons we weren't showing this necessarily is, one, I haven't had time to really work on it. Two, while I was in Israel, Ladybird got ick, so just another like, you know, being out of town, things are harder than if I was watching it. So I had to come back, get it healed up, you know, make sure things are stable and all that. So when I'm doing that, I don't do a lot of cleaning. So like if there's algae on the glass and all that, I'm not looking to stress the fish out. I'm purely looking to heal the fish. What I am thinking about with this aquarium is taking out the archers. The archers cause a problem. The archers only want to eat floating food, and too much of it goes down in the overflow. I've got a different overflow I can try, but you can see they're very active and they splash a lot of food out, and they're stealing food from these guys. These guys have done their job. If you guys remember, maybe Jimmy will put this in, back, the reason we put stuff in here is because we were getting a lot of algae buildup. We needed something to churn, and these guys have done an amazing job at that. But, you know, they deserve more food and stuff, and from getting it past those guys. These guys are just, you know, even if I don't even put anything up there, they're ready to strike. And so black ghost knife usually is hanging out down over here. Where are you, buddy? I don't see him right now, but usually when I put food in, he'll come. That noise chasing us. But anyway, so computers are a mess. Jimmy's gone, so, you know, I installed a server, and there's lots of stuff going on, right? Lots of cables and, you know, cleanup to do and rearranging. But I have to prep for the old YouTube meeting. And what that's for is basically we're doing okay as a channel. They want to see more categories like this do well. And so one of the things they say we can really work on is getting like membership up and that kind of stuff. So I've been working on that lately. If you guys want to do me a huge favor, you can hit that join button, become a member. We'll put a video somewhere at the end here that is a members only video, so we're doing that kind of behind the scenes. People seem to love that, but it doesn't do well on, like if you're a super fan, you'll love it. If you're just someone on the internet that stumbles upon Aquarium Co-op, you're like, what do I care about that for? So we're making the content for that. And yeah, it gives you more access to me. That's really what the membership's about at this point, is kind of trying to separate out you know, the super fans from just like a bystander of like, oh, it's a China video, cool, watched it once, never again type of deal. And so yeah, it's like $5, or I think it might be $6 for iPhone, I don't know. But more pictures, and I answer comments. Like, it's easier not to get lost because they're putting in a way to sort, so I can sort by people that are members versus like, oh, there's 2,000 messages and I've never heard of these people before, but I still answer as many as I can, and stuff like that. So if you want to, I would say support, but you guys support me by buying. So support in that if you want more stuff, more insider info, more superfan stuff, then subscribe to that. If I get that up more, I think YouTube algorithm will like us even more, and if not, well, you guys will get some extra cool content and you know, more access to me. Rest assured, we're not taking anything away from the normal stuff. This is all in addition to. It's a lot more raw there, so if you like this style of video, that's exactly what goes on behind the scenes, because it doesn't make sense to pay Jimmy to edit and do all fancy wizard tricks when I'm just showing like normal stuff that, you know, is quick, one and done type of deal. So thank you guys for watching. I've got my gym clothes on still. It's been 4 or 5 hours to get all the doors removed and get all that stuff going. But I got to work on getting a camera ready for the meeting I got to do tomorrow, and hopefully you guys enjoy.